Surprise, surprise, a YouTuber has done something bad, and we're going to talk about it.
Let's go! And it wasn't me.
A YouTuber known as The Completionist has maybe or maybe not, depending on your opinions on this, done a really bad thing.
Okay.
Basically, your job today is to figure out your take on this whole situation.
Okay.
There are two YouTubers who broke this story. Carl Jobs, who you've actually done a video on.
That video actually rules. You should check it out.
And Mutahar, who is Ordinary Gamers.
I see that guy on Twitter daily. That dude is a Twitter influencer.
Those two teamed together because both individually found out pieces of this story, and then they realized just how deep this rabbit hole went. So
it's like a buddy cop episode. They came together and they finished it off. Okay, interesting.
A TLDR, The Completionist has been doing charity streams for the past 5 or 6 years, supposedly raising money for Alzheimer's research.
Okay.
Currently, all of the money that he has raised is sat in an account, not being used, not being donated to any charities that are going to be doing the things that he said.
Okay.
I think Mutahar's goes into detail a lot more. Here is his video, but I'm going to leave you to this, Stanz. Take what they're saying with a grain of salt. Try and form your own opinion, you know?
Okay. Feels like you're leading me somewhere, but that's fine. I'm interested. Let's dive in. This is Some Ordinary Gamers, aka Mutahar, who made a video about someone who may or may not be scamming a charity that I believe they started. I don't have a lot of context besides some tweets, so we're just gonna get into it and see what happens.
When you donate to a charity live stream and that money leaves your bank account and it goes to the charity, do you expect that money to actually be going to the charity that you're donating to, or do you expect it to sit in a bank
I have a feeling this is a rhetorical question.
account for years? What do you think is the more logical option? Do you want your money to go that year, or do you want it to just sit in a bank account doing nothing to help a cause that you firmly believe in?
I do like the fact that he's pre-baking us of how absurd is this thing? If there have been years of a charity and people are individually donating to it and feeling good, getting that feeling of giving, or maybe it's a cause that is close to them because they know someone with Alzheimer's or it's affected their life in a personal way, I think you can get the people riled up.
The Completionist is one of the more popular gaming channels. He's been around for a long time. What The Completionist also does is run something known as Indie Land, an actual yearly event. Big brands like Corsair and G Fuel and some of the best influencers in the game all converge together to help raise money for charity.
This is sick as shit. I mean, I know the shoe is going to drop and the money doesn't go somewhere, but so far it seems like there's a very cool YouTuber who makes interesting content, created an indie event to showcase those devs and raise money for charity. It's all very positive.
And this foundation was founded to honor the memory of Karen Khalil, the completionist mother who ended up losing her life in a fight against frontotemporal dementia.
That's so sad.
And of course, all the condolences for sure. But when we looked into this charity, one of the biggest red flags showed up. And that was the Open Hand Foundation. And by we, I mean Carl Jobst and me.
The fact that almost all the thumbnails on Carl's channel are Billy Mitchell is so funny to me.
They say that your gift will contribute to vital research for a cure for this devastating disease.
I know it's just a stock photo. The fact that they have pipettes really does make you feel like your money is going to go to a person in a lab coat who is going to try and cure Alzheimer's/dementia, right?
They list benefactors like the University of California, San Francisco. Typos usually aren't a good sign when it comes to situations like this. See, in the news, you would just read that Indie Land, for instance, in 2021 raised more than $100,000 for dementia research. Badass. Which is crazy awesome.
So I'm going to try and do some predicting here. I don't really know how this can go wrong, because in my understanding of 501(c)(3)s, all you would have to do is pay yourself some kind of organizer's fee. I can't remember what it's called, but you have a CEO or chairman of a nonprofit, and they get some kind of distribution from this money. And then all they have to do is give the rest of it to UCSF. They could pocket a nice $80K, call it a salary for the person running it, and then they give the rest of the money every year to this charity, and then that's a money-making scheme almost. But the fact that they're not taking any money out, why are they just building a pile of money?
So they've got their tax forms, their 990 PFs, which basically shows the money going in and hopefully the money going out. And we found a pretty massive discrepancy that to everyone we showed has raised every red flag imaginable. You can see that the Open Hand Foundation raised $33,000 in contributions. If you look at their operating and administrative expenses, they had nothing to spend. So that also includes contributions, gifts, and grants paid, line 25, which would mean money going to other charitable organizations or grants that you're providing for, you know, Alzheimer's research.
Which is what I was talking about earlier. That would be the way that you get rid of the money. That's like the reason a lot of these organizations exist. They own an event, or they own and operate an event like Indieland. They raise the money. That first line, which was like payments to officers and things like that. And then that last line, which is grants, gifts, contributions. And you just give the rest away.
And of course, if you look at their balance sheets, at the end of 2014, they had $33,756 sitting in cash in their accounts. So then we go to the year 2015, and we looked that they made $60,000 in contribution.
Are they going to have $93,595 in their accounts?
They spent $27,686 this year. But that puts them from having $33,000 in their account at the beginning of the year to having $66,000. Remember,
what's crazy is it feels like they're doing all the hard work of the charity, right? They're running the events and they're raising the money. They just haven't distributed it or done any grants. They're doing the work.
They paid nothing in contributions, gifts, or grants at all. They did, however, spend $28,000 in administrative expenses.
So that could be something, for example, like hiring someone to handle sponsorship for Indieland, or hiring like a marketing manager, or doing things like that.
Right? Pattern became even more interesting. $40,000 they raised in that year. Then they went down and apparently spent $11,599 in administrative expenses. How much did they spend in contributions paid? $0.
Watching the number get bigger is actually so funny.
So then we went to the year 2017. And if you can imagine the pattern, they made $31,000. They spent $11,000, still paid $0 in contributions or grants to these charities.
I will say, so far, this doesn't at all feel like a grift.
Year 2020 rolls up. That started them with $325, ended them with $440.
What's crazy is with that kind of surplus, you could hire a relatively smart, passionate chairperson for your charity here, and just using Indieland and that golfing organization, scale this. They could scale this bad bitch to the moon, because if they're profiting $100K after their events, let's just say you pay someone $70,000. It's nonprofit work. It's not like the highest paying in the world, $70,000, $80,000 for like someone to actually run the organization. You're still profiting. You're giving that $20,000 a year to other things and potentially growing the events to make more in the future. 10 minutes of just looking through this, watching the number go up.
Don't get me wrong. We're at the last year, 2022 of their filings. So again, this starts them with $549 and ends them with a whopping $655,000 in the bank. That seems about right. Indieland is raising $600,000. Obviously, there's a bit more money that they've earned from various other events and more contributions. But the point is...
Yeah, I mean, they didn't write 650, but they're it just feels like they're missing one employee, right? Indieland is going well. They are raising the money. It honestly seems like they're spending very thriftily, because they're only spending between $10,000 and $30,000 every year to operationalize this whole event. They're just missing the person to distribute it, the person to read the grant so that they can then give money to these organizations. What the hell?
Now, me and Carl actually started a conversation with Gerard to get his side of the story. And
that is the most reasonable next step, by the way. It's like, hey, we noticed this. It's kind of weird. What's the deal, bro?
To answer your question, Carl, I don't have an answer. You know, I think that's my fuck up. I have personally donated to AFTD and Alzheimer's Association over the years, and I don't really have a true answer for that. And that's on me completely, and I will own up to that. But, you know, again, it doesn't fucking matter. You guys are going to say what you're going to say, and I can't stop it, but...
Whoa. I feel like that's a fine answer. Just be like, I'm a fucking YouTuber, bro. Am I crazy? Is that not a fine answer? Be like, I feel like I'd be like, holy shit, really? Thank you. I'll donate it next week.
The important thing is that all the money is still in the account. None of it's spent erroneously.
Yeah.
It's all above board. It's not hiding in a Cayman account or anything like that. Yeah, and that's the thing about...
Why are you putting thoughts in people's heads? You're going crazy, bro. I'm going to assume that's just one small clip of a Discord call, but that was, for lack of a better word, bungled.
Interesting to almost make it sound like this is about to be some crazy drama story, when in reality, this isn't some tabloid journalism we go for. I kind of find a weird insinuation of that a little bit insulting for me and my colleagues like Carl, who do deep dives and investigative pieces on situations like this.
I guess what I'm asking you guys is, what do you want me to do as soon as possible? If it's like,
distribute the money. Just distribute the money. Just distribute the money.
Like, hey, Gerard, we want you to shut up and take the L so we can make content.
I am maybe the beginning of this call was a very different vibe. This feels crazy to me.
I would never try and scam in honor of my mom.
I don't think he would either. And he has the money. I don't think this is a scam. If it is a scam, it's the worst scam I've ever seen.
This isn't drama. This is erroring at best at severe negligence, or it could go into actual charitable fraud. Charity fraud is when someone takes advantage of a charitable or nonprofit organization for their own personal gain.
Well, none of this feels intentional, right?
However, fraudulent activity can also occur when people make dishonest, inflated claims about
that
how
can
much
is
money
doing
they've
some
raised.
heavy lifting, though. It can also occur when people make dishonest or inflated claims, but it doesn't seem to me like the reason for making the claims would fit the definition of fraud here, because the only tangible benefit he's getting is the ability to say that he's raised over $600,000 for Alzheimer's research, when he has in fact raised over $600,000 for Alzheimer's research. He just hasn't put it into effect. It also feels like he could have solved it in that Discord call. Am I smoking reef? He could have been like, holy shit, really? I'll get right on that. Thank you guys so much for telling me.
Nothing was ever brought to my attention. I just knew that conversations were happening between Alzheimer's Association of America, AFTD Foundation. I have a paper trail of us talking to other organizations as early.
Bro, this guy is absolutely using the most loaded words of all time. Why would you say paper trail? No one's ever said paper trail in like a cozy way. You know what I mean? That's just... what are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah, even though I don't believe he's done anything wrong besides like erroneous. I don't think he's done anything malicious. The way he's talking is absolutely hurting him.
Some of the bigger orgs like Alzheimer's, they were like, look, if you're not going to pay more than 6 figures or 6+ figures of what they asked for, then you're just going to waste it. So the goal on the back end for my family that I've been told is like, we're just going to raise a bunch of money and then give it to one org and like,
oh, that's cool.
Make a bigger impact rather than just giving smaller donations that don't move the needle.
Now, I think this is a very, very dumb point in the sense that, again, bear with me.
He knew I was shaking my head. He said dumb point. I went, where are you going with this? And he said, bear with me. We were having a conversation right now.
One thing you'll see is they'll ask me to gift an amount that is as low as $35. See, the idea of this money going to a doctor's salary is, again, like, who do you think is going to do the research on this anyways? Of course it's going to go to salary for researchers, doctors.
I literally am about to like donate all this money today. I want to make sure that this money goes to a good cause in honor of my mom. I don't want it to go to some doctor's salary or some expense bill for a massive organization that it's not going to do anything for.
There's probably going to be administrative costs, but it doesn't mean that charities only function when you give them a lot of money. And based on the filings, with over $600,000 sitting in an account, that's going to do an actual difference in the world. At least more difference than just sitting in a bank account anyways. What's insane is when it comes to expenses, they've literally put expenses in just a general bucket called expenses. To compare it to another organization, this is the 990 filings of the Alzheimer's Association, and you can see instead of just writing expenses, they actually detail exactly where and how they're spending the money. Ask me and Carl.
To the IRS. He's like, man, it'd be crazy if the IRS caught this. Wouldn't they want to have a look? But the IRS is going to look at it and be like, yeah, this is just baby's first charity. This is just YouTuber starts a charity and doesn't really know what he's doing.
Everyone in this organization, if you look at the breakdown of their employees, it all just appears to be family members listed as presidents, directors, VPs, and secretaries. And they've worked 0 hours, meaning they haven't been compensated, but they also haven't done shit, apparently, according to the filings. So then
they've obviously done things. Running Indie Land is an endeavor. I have to assume there are hundreds of hours split between people to do that.
This is a very complicated rule, but the idea is the US government expects foundations to use their assets to benefit society, and they enforce it through Section 4942 of the Internal Revenue Code, which requires private foundations to distribute 5% of the market value,
interesting way,
of their endowment each year for charitable purposes.
That is fascinating. If there is a requirement to distribute 5%, and I have to assume OpenHand just doesn't know that. I wonder who is doing their accounting, because he called it out earlier, but their tax statement is extremely simple. It's like receivable, expenses, that's the end. Like, it feels like it could be just one of them in QuickBooks. In fact, I would probably assume it's just one of them in QuickBooks and not like an accountant.
Gerard even told us that he kind of knew about this, a couple months before. Before a while, he used to think that what was going on was money was being donated, until very recently he found out that no, the money was still sitting in the account, and it actually started somewhat of a civil war within this organization as to let's donate this money now, because he's the public-facing figure of this organization.
Right, he doesn't want this to happen specifically, so he's like, let's just donate the money. What are you doing?
Now, from the statements that Gerard made on his streams for Indieland 2020 and various other Indielands, it leads everyone to believe, realistically, that the money is going to some charities.
Basically, anything that's tied to donating or subscribing in a financial way to us is going to charity. We're not touching any of it. It's all going for a good cause.
He goes, we're not touching any of it. And they go, so true. That's staying in the bank account.
And again, to also respond to Gerard when we were talking, it's not about writing a check to any organization. It's about writing the amounts for those.
I completely agree. The name dropping thing is crazy. I wonder if they just wrote that on the first year when they were talking to those organizations and then never changed it. It does seem wild to me.
Exact organizations that you've been listing throughout the years. Because for anybody watching, for anybody looking at this who's ever donated to Indieland, you want your money to go to the places that you were told.
For me personally,
yeah, this is FlyQuest. So the esports organization FlyQuest was a big part of it, and they actually put out a statement that I saw the other day saying like, hey, we're shocked, we're looking into this because this is a cause that's near and dear to us, which I'm sure this guy's going to say, and we want to make sure that our money is going where we thought it was going.
I've had people in my immediate family that have suffered from dementia. We're also going to be contributing $15,000 to the donations.
Wow. Oh, do you think he knew that the money that he gave
what a freeze frame
from his organization just sat in an account when he popped the confetti? When you see this situation, it makes you question every charity. I'm questioning every charity, especially YouTuber-run things nowadays.
I will say that it does suck to feel like you have been burned to have to question every charity, but you absolutely should research any charity that you are choosing to give money to. Even if it was someone like me saying donate to this charity, like, why should you trust me? Like, do your research. These things have to be public.
I will tell you right now, before I looked into the story with Carl, I wanted to believe this was some bad dream and we came across some wild discrepancy. But everyone that I've talked to, Gerard included, knows that this is a bad thing, knows that this shouldn't have happened. And the only way to make it right is to fucking donate this money.
I think that video was good. A little long. I think maybe we hit the same points a couple of times, but generally, I do find it interesting that there is a charity run by a massive YouTuber who people like that has been raising a lot of money and hasn't made distributions yet. And if this video is the spur that causes distributions to be made, grants to be paid, things like that, I will be very happy. I think that's a good thing. Kant actually just sent me the completionist's newest video and told me to look at the comments. Gerard is going to need more than Shovel Knight to save himself this time. My father has dementia, and I was so proud that people like you, gamers that I could relate to, were at the forefront championing our cause. It's a shame to find out you are not like me and not someone I can relate to. Yeesh. Can't fault the guy. He sure did 100% complete his career. If the completionist next video addresses this, talks about it, and distributes the funds, I think we will have actually seen a positive moment that comes from YouTube drama. Now, was there like a little bit of rabble-rousing here? Yes, but that's how YouTube works. And I think we can get somewhere. Moral opinions, legal opinions. No one should have a legal opinion on this unless you're a lawyer, right? I don't really understand 5% mandatory like payouts based on being a private charitable organization. Are they a private one? Are they a public one? I am much too stupid to understand that. But based on Ordinary Gamer's video, maybe there are some issues legally with what they are doing, not paying out 5%. Morally, yeah, I definitely agree with Ordinary Gamer as well, that like saying that you're doing these things and doing nothing is a punch to the gut. I'm sure FlyQuest, who gave their facility and money to this, or these people who donated, whether it was $5 or $50, are going to feel bad that like nothing has happened. But the good news is I think this is all so unbelievably fixable. It's so fixable. And it starts with just being honest and being like, damn, this is not how we wanted it to go. The money is still here. We thought we needed to save up more of it, and that was wrong. And so now we're doing this.